the psychology behind change.
There are business leaders out there who achieve what they want. And there are all the others. Leading is a discipline, an art, not a talent. You can learn it, you can even master it. Make sure you get what you want.
Good morning, good afternoon, good day, hello, and welcome in the Live It, Lead It podcast with me and Musab. Hi, Musab. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Very, very good. So as we said in the last episode, we just put this, we record this right afterwards because there were so much nuggets in it. And dear listener, if you haven't heard it, just click on your phone the backwards button twice and listen to this episode. Musab, as psychologist, ran us through what we see at the moment in behavior around this COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. And there were so many things which I just noted down, and I need to talk about this now because I believe 12,000 of those things are valid, which you mentioned, are valid for every change an organization wants to do. And I would like to go through this and not talking about COVID, but taking what we see at the moment and transport this over to organizational changes or changes in general. So let's start with a change. Let me sketch out what I think when I talk about change.
Okay.
Change is, I don't know, and maybe we should.
That's I was going to start if you don't mind. So usually, I think whenever we do these podcasts, it's always best to define what a word is, because a lot of people have different conceptions. So change, it can be a verb or a noun. So the verb is to make or become different, and the noun is the act or the instance of making or becoming different. So the change, transformation, alteration, whatever you want to choose, whatever name you choose, it's all around us. So I think that's like the best definition of change.
Yeah. And I'm scribbling this down here for me because I would like to I would like to create one example which we discuss in the episode now.
Yeah, sure.
I talk about leadership and we talk about business and we talk about being in 2020 and we talk about that I can see a lot of companies now trying to rush in digitalization and online strategy. They were sleeping for the last 20 years and first they were hoping that the internet just disappears by itself, like all evil dreams. And then they ignored it and now they are forced to do it. Let's take a grocery store. Standard grocery store, maybe not Uncle Sam's grocery store, but a chain, like national chain. And
yes.
I know what a reasonable number is, maybe 100 stores or something, a shop. And they run grocery stores, and they are maybe on the higher side of the price tag because they sell quality stuff. And if you live in Germany, then you may have an idea of what company I'm now sketching out. And we ignore the internet. We don't do anything at all. And now we need to do something. And new business maybe took over, and this is where the parallels to the real world. And now the business understood, or the management understood, or the owner understood, whatever, we need to go online. Okay, so boss says we need to go online now and we need to change. Now I'm getting to the word. We start a change program. The change program has to do with building up online store and building up some delivery services and having some discussions how we weave the on-site stores, the physical stores, best into this whole strategy. So a lot of things unclear and a lot of discussions going on. And management says there is no way around it. We got to do this. Yeah. So this is what I'm thinking about in change. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a change project. And
yes.
Now let me hook into the last episode because you said a lot of things which I can see are made wrong in failed change projects that I can see either because I'm close by or I just read it in the news.
Right.
Let's and I would like to go through 2, 3, 4, 5 points. So I don't know how many we have the time for. So
yeah, sure.
First that you said is people get crazy because there is no clear base of information.
Right.
I'm only restating from the last episode. You said the beginning of this pandemic, the government said tomorrow green and the day after tomorrow red, and nobody really had a reliable source of information. And the information that we have still today are minimum doubtful. And there are so many information out there that are so many numbers out there which really don't give information at all. So everybody is still a bit lost.
Right.
Repeat. Give us this again. How is such an unclear? What's wrong with this? What's wrong with? I'm in the office in this grocery store, and I hear that the company goes online, and I receive a new mousepad, and the new mousepad says online 2040 or something like that because. Right. Strategy, but that's kind of all that I have, and the rest is rumor on the corridors. What does that make with the standard employee? What's your take on this?
Okay, so a few points. We spoke about how, as an individual or as humans, we fear what we don't know, and if there's a change in a company, many times or sometimes, or even if there's a possibility of change, that also comes with the possibility of downsizing, which means you're going to lose your job, or bringing someone else in, which means a new boss, new method of doing things. So this is all stressful. And as we are reactive people, we discussed before, we slip back into this fear. And we start like you said, the rumors start with our coworkers. Okay. Oh, I heard that with this new system, this new change, going online, whatever, we're going to lose our jobs. Or I heard they're going to bring 10,000 other workers. They don't need us anymore. Or we're going to be bigger. We have a different way to do things. And so you start feeling this hectic and stressful thing. And it's kind of a way it brings you a little bit together with your coworkers, right? But it not in a positive way, right? I'm pretty sure that because of this, the morale of the team, of your team, is going to suffer. And so the product that you put out, whether it be a service or whether it be whatever, it's going to be less. So people are not going to work as hard because they're too worried about what's going to happen, right? People feel this irrational response of not being able to do anything about it. And when you have an authority, which would be the higher ups, the management, that is not communicating properly, it's going to give these rumors more credibility, right? You come up with an explanation for what's going to happen because there is no other explanation. So we don't want the unknown. We'd rather take a little bit of a known, even if it's not for sure. So I heard Bob say that because of the new system, this is going to happen. Well, no one's contradicting what Bob said. My boss is not saying anything else. The management not saying anything else. So it must be right. You get what I mean? And so that I think that's a very big part of the effect that you would have. It's just not a good effect on a business. It's not very professional, right? But people have a desire for figuring out what's going to happen, and if you don't give them that, if an authority doesn't give them that, they'll take that information from anywhere.
That's the thing. I believe people know. People always know what's going on, and with knowing, I mean exactly as you said. Either I know. I believe in something. This is either science, in brackets evidence, or I know that Thor with the hammer is smashing on the rock. This is why the thunder comes from in a thunderstorm.
Right.
So people know. And back in the days, they created religions around this. Nowadays, they create rumors and maybe even this conspiracies. So
right.
I'm completely with you. If you leave this information gap open, people will fill it up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
This is the one thing which is a very important learning. I think if you start a big change, then communicate. Share all the information that you have in a way that people can digest.
Mm-hmm.
So people can digest. What I mean by that is, I've seen several. Let's give a bad and a very good example. I was part of a change project where the serious statement from the higher management was all the numbers are there and you just simply get them off the SharePoint and off the SAP system. So the SAP system was an avalanche of numbers, which are not information, but in brackets, not accessible for the majority of the company. And what was shared on SharePoint was just simply rubbish. This was crap. The good example was, especially in the last several weeks, I hear my fellow leadership stars, we are now in very interesting times for the majority of the companies. Mm-hmm. And they all, nearly all, experience that the management understood this. And what they do is, yes, everybody needs to work from home, but we make weekly Friday afternoon calls where the management plays cards open. This is how we are operating. This is what we know. This is what we expect. This is what we assume based on that. Yeah. I love it. That means that the company, the employees, they're all, well, as worried as they can be and should be, but they understand that they don't need to create rumors, because this is, Friday, the boss said it's like this. We have this amount of money on the account. If we don't do anything, we can pay all the salaries until da-da-da-da-da. So I think this is a very good example for that. And I was quite happy that you stated this.
Yeah.
So now the next thing is you said you were very often pointing on that reactive behavior.
Yes.
It's very easy.
Exactly.
What do you mean by that?
So I made a point in the earlier episode about how reacting is like reacting and fear in a way is like being an autopilot. So the main point was, as a reactive individual, you do not need to make a decision because the decision is made for you. Okay. Mm-hmm. As a proactive individual, you have to assess and use your brain and predict and analyze what is going to happen. Okay. I remember when I was in the US and I was training as a police recruit. My training officer would always say, make a decision. It could be the wrong decision, but make a decision. Don't wait until a decision is made for you, because by then it's too late, right?
I like that.
And I'll give you a quick example. Obviously, in terms of business or in more of like a civilian kind of way, things this extreme don't happen. But we got a call about an individual that had a knife and was near a road in an intersection somewhere. And as I was going, I came up and to the intersection. So there were 3 possible ways I could go: left, right, or keep going forward. Mm-hmm. There's cars everywhere. There's some people everywhere. I don't know where to go. I don't know which way to go. And the only thing that's in my head is, okay, if I drive past this guy or if I don't go the right way, we have to circle all the way around, and that wastes a lot of time. So I was driving very, 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 very slowly, just not making a decision. And when I finally saw him, I hit the brakes on the car, and the patrol car stopped, and that caused an accident behind me, or like to the right of me. Yeah. Damn. And so it caused an accident. So because of my failure to make a decision, there was an accident, meaning we had to split up. So I had to deal with the person with the knife. The other officer had to go check for the person with the injury. Now, obviously, this is a a life and death example, but sorry. So it's a life and death example, and it doesn't really happen a lot in the civilian world, but you can have destructive moments from the failure to make a decision. Okay.
Yeah.
Whether that be a business decision, whether that be a decision on a project that you're delaying to the last moment till the path becomes clear. Sometimes the path does not become clear, and you have to choose that decision, because making that action, it shows your initiative and it shows your proactivity instead of being a reactive individual. Nobody likes the reactive individual, but everyone wants to be one, right? Because it's very easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we can to transform this or transfer this a little bit onto our WeGo Online change example. Or you said you need to make a decision. I mean, lots of people don't make decisions. I always say you have three options: love it, change it, leave it.
Yeah.
Lots of people, or the majority of people, don't love what they do, sadly enough.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't make the decision of changing, neither then of leaving.
Yeah.
Because it's I know where the coffee machine is, and my fellow whiny colleagues, we are all whining about the same. We have the same enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Enemy unites, and everybody is stupid, and that, and then they don't decide to leave. They don't decide to change.
Yeah.
So I understand. Yeah, changing is not a or deciding become active is not a is a stressful job. And now we are in leadership. The definition of leadership is execute change, realize change. So everybody who wants to become a leader must make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So that means
that's true. Like you say many times that leadership, it's a set of skills that can be learned. So once you get into a leadership position, you don't automatically become better at making decisions. You don't automatically become better at speaking in front of people or being the go-to guy on a team. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of skill to be able to transform into making a decision for a group of people. Because if you have a hard time making a decision for yourself, imagine what it's like making a decision for a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole different ballgame, and it's a lot more stressful, and it causes a lot more. It makes you have to do a lot more thinking and being proactive as a leader, as opposed to being just a worker, right? A member of a team.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So you had a next one. You had another one last episode. That was you sketched out that some of these politicians compare the current situation with a war situation.
Yes.
And I believe that I wouldn't be surprised if this came from the United Kingdom, because they are, well, when you read the newspapers, and I, as a German, know what I'm talking about, then I'm surprised and scared about ridiculous comparisons of today's whatever with something that happened in the Second World War. And so the beauty...
I just wanted to make a quick note on that. For the UK specifically, as a nation, and they themselves say this was their finest hour, their greatest generation. What I mean by that is, you could argue that after World War II, the global influence and affluence and prosperity of the UK or the British Empire has gone down and has never reached that level.
Mm-hmm.
You could definitely argue that, because after World War II, who came? The United States, and then the Russians, and now the Chinese. So there was a global balance that had tipped, and so the current generations of people in the UK have grown up hearing about the previous empire, or how great the nation was during that time in World War II, and how we'll never be at that level, or we didn't go through that struggle. Well, now it's almost like this is their chance to do that. So everything becomes a rallying point, whether it be Brexit or whether it be COVID-19. Everything becomes an opportunity to show that we have the same mettle and the same strength as that generation. Does that make sense? It's very unique. It's very unique to a specific country. Every country kind of has their own rallying point. And for example, in the U.S., to be honest, it's not. I wouldn't say it's World War II. I would say it's the World Trade Center attack in 2011. I think that's what touched the majority of Americans, because even in World War II, there were no battles on U.S. soil.
2001, not 2000.
2001. 2000. Oh, sorry. Yeah, September 11th, 2001. Yeah.
Yeah.
In World War II, you had a lot of Americans that had died, but all the battles were overseas or in the Pacific, right? So it's the only thing, the September 11th attacks were the only thing that kind of brought everybody together as a nation, and that's the rallying point of that specific country. And UK has its own, so I think
let's stay there for a minute. What I'm struggling with, and this is, I mean, we Germans have a different perspective on that. No,
of course.
Germany has been given a different perspective of that. I grew up with, you have to be in shame as you're a German because you are directly responsible for all the evil things that happened in World War II, blah, blah, blah. So this was repetitive. So
yes,
this said, so I sometimes can't really remove my German head, at least the pieces that I can see I can remove, but I'm maybe biased in a certain way.
Yes.
My problem is, and now we turn it over to Hungary, where both of us sit. I understand that a nation is proud on history. I understand that every nation has, let's say, the dark corners in the history books. And for some nations, it's a bit bigger where the black pages are, and for some nations, it's a bit smaller. So and I understand that you can be proud on this. What I don't understand, what I don't even want to accept, is that all of your activities aiming to the future stare like stupid on the past. What we see here in Hungary is that's a great example. Yeah, it's that they I mean they are even more crazy. They stare at the end of World War I, 1918.
Yeah.
And this is what is a repetitive story, and again and again and again, and they make decisions based on shit that is 103 years from now. And I don't see Hungary prosper. I mean, at all. So the UK and all of this is the same. Again, I have massive respect for the history, and I would like to learn from the history, especially that I can see frightening parallels between Hungarian history nowadays and German history is 1930, whatever. But I don't want that this is, let's say, the main thesis and the main background on the stage that we are, and everybody is just staring at it and finest generation, blah blah blah. That's all crap. You live now. Make yourself the greatest generation that you can imagine.
Right. Yeah, and I also don't like people taking credit for things that they didn't do. We defeated this in this country. You didn't do anything. You're an individual that sits at home and plays video games, and
maybe your grandfather did it, but
maybe exactly. But yeah, exactly.
Let's go back to my well, not war scenario, but it stemmed from this from your parallel of COVID and this war thesis. You brought a good point up. It's us against them. And I believe, and you said this, and not enlightens, but this brings people together. You said you got calls from people who were long unknown or disappeared or something. And I think this is a very important thing that we talk about business change now, which people keep under consideration. There is always an us versus them. And you do not want, when you are the owner of this grocery store, that us versus them plays inside of your organization and the border is hierarchy. You do not want that half of your company, and let's think about this hierarchical pyramid, that the lower part plays the us versus them game. And because then you can't make a change. It will not happen because they feel that you attack them.
Yeah.
So you want to have the us versus them, which is us, the company, versus them, which is, I don't care, the rest of the world, your competitor, whatever. Yeah. So I like that how you sketch this us versus them out.
Yes.
If you want to give a psychologist and some 2 or 3 thoughts on how to create the group, how to create us in a civilized business environment where we don't have uniforms, where we don't have a decided enemy, where we don't have rifles and all of this stuff, how would you give us 2 or 3 thoughts maybe if you have?
Okay, so are we talking about doing this in a positive way, like fostering like a team environment?
Always. We're only talking positive.
So a great way. We touched on this in another episode. I'm not sure when, but we spoke about how there's in initiations, there's an element of suffering before you join a group, puts a little bit more allegiance to a group. For example, when footballers, when they join a new team, they have to stand up in front of everyone and sing a song. And obviously, most people don't know how to sing very well. So that little bit of suffering bonds the team together, right? So maybe, you have a new guy come in and you have them make a silly presentation, or you have them do something that it constitutes a bit of suffering, but in the end, it makes you part of the team.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, hey, when I joined the team, I had to do blah, 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 whatever. That's a good one. Bonding events are very important because they give you these stories and these experiences that are outside of the office. For example, if you organize a trip to either a different country or you organize a group activity that people have to go through and work together, it gives those bits of ties that you wouldn't have with a coworker, but you would have with a friend.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And it kind of translates into being a lot closer to that person than you were before, regardless of how many projects you have. I've been to school or university with people for 4 or 5 years, and I don't know them as well as when I moved somewhere or I took a trip with someone just for a few weeks, right? So you learn a lot about a person when you see them in a variety of environments, not just in an office environment or not just in a school environment, right? So far we have like initiation rituals, we have outside activities for bonding, and I also think a common goal. So you don't need to have an enemy, you don't need to wear uniforms, but a set of company values or like a company a mission statement that we're all pulling in the same direction. So the goal of this organization is to, I don't know, for a nonprofit is to provide water for a poor family. Or the goal of this, when you have a goal and you can all move in that same direction, then you all are able to put in a certain amount of effort. So it's not scatterbrained. It's not everyone going on a different direction. It's you all have the same clear path. So those would probably be my three main ones. So an initiation ritual, a little bit of suffering when you join, experiences outside of the office environment, and a common goal that's defined.
Yeah, absolute. And the initiation ritual, I mean, you can see it with some very well ranked employers, Google, for example. Everybody knows that the hiring process is a really crazy piece of psychology that they put at you. So everybody knows, okay, everybody here in this building went through this and we survived, like Navy SEALs, their famous Buds Week or Hell Week, how they call it. Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, cool. So that was clear information. I'm wrapping this up for the change. Take care that you have clear information. Take care that people have the chance to know those things. Take care that you have them aligned and united so that you have the organization going against the enemy, and there doesn't necessarily need to be a physical enemy. The one enemy can be the vaporization of their own company, because when you're a grocery store and Amazon goes with Amazon Fresh over Europe, then bye-bye. Okay. And decide. You need to make a decision. And even you need to make a decision for yourself to not be part of this change anymore, but decide. Yeah, cool. I think these are 3 very good, very nice takeaways that may help leaders around here. Good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Cool. What's up? Thanks very much. Have a good one. Bye, man.
Sure. Thank you. Bye.